Hey everybody, Jim and Joshua here to talk about last night's Season 5 finale of The Walking Dead, entitled Conquer.
Conquer.
Not the video game.
No, not the video game news. Sorry.
Now, Joshua, right off the bat, our review is up on the site. It's a positive review. However, you didn't really like this episode.
I didn't.
Why did this not feel like a satisfactory season finale for you?
Before I start talking, I just want to say full spoilers. If you haven't seen the finale, go watch it, then come back and then talk with us.
Good catch.
But I did not. I just thought it was like more of the same of like, oh, we're having this moral problem, but let's do the worst thing possible at the end of it. I just, And then the end, it was, we'll sort of, piece out the conversation, but just in general, like the end, that was more of like a whimper than a bang, even though it did end with a bang.
Yeah, a literal bang, yeah.
I didn't feel excited to see what was happening next. I was like, oh, this again? That was my reaction.
Yeah, I liked the penultimate episode more than I liked the finale. I thought my frustration with the finale kind of reflects some of the frustrations I have with the series in general, even though I've actually really liked this season. I thought they really turned the ship around this season. However, I thought that ultimately my problem is, what sort of society do you want to end up in, Rick and company? Like, what is it that you're fighting and surviving for?
He's like, here's this nice community where you're having wine parties. No!
Yeah, no. Like,
everyone needs a gun.
Yeah, well, what do you want it to be like in the end? And I felt like they didn't quite answer that, and they still haven't answered that in the show. And every other community, every other group is doing it wrong except for them. Right. Even as they've become kind of worse and worse in their behavior.
What's the dream for Rick? Like, what is? It's just, but everywhere he goes, people start dying and crazy things happen. Yeah. I think it's a testament to that community that they've made it as long as they have, and they're doing something right. Maybe not being crazy people who take everything to the extreme and arm everyone to the teeth. Maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe you can still be civilized and just build a big wall and keep them out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, clearly they were still struggling from being out there, and Rick and his group when they came in. However, right off the bat, they did say, we're going to take this place amongst themselves. Instead of just saying, you guys are soft, we have seen things out there, you need to protect yourselves, and we can train you, we can make you better. Basically, what he said at the end. Yeah. And instead, a lot of bad things had to happen just for him to do something reasonable, until, of course, Crazy Pete shows up. Now, this is, that clearly has turned things around for Deanna, having now both her son and her husband dead. Yeah. And then giving Pete the death sentence right there. What did you think of Deanna's kind of turnaround, considering right in that moment she was pretty close to ostracizing Rick?
I would say, first of all, I was a little bit confused by that finale, because when she's like, do it, I thought she was telling Rick to put her husband out of his misery because he was about to turn into a walker. Right. But instead he went and killed the abusive husband. Yeah. So I was like, wait, what? I was like, was that really what she wanted to happen?
Well, it makes me wonder about the sort of future of Alexandria. Okay, so Rick saves the community, but the two of the worst troublemakers are still alive by the end of the episode. Father Gabriel, who clearly, boy, did he literally opened the door for trouble in this episode. Yep. And Nicholas, that weasel, who shoots Glenn and then fails to kill him, and I didn't quite buy Glenn not killing the guy.
Yeah. First of all, how did Glenn get out of that, being tackled by 5 walkers?
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of those miracle saves. Right. Sort of, though, and it goes along with another aspect of the episode we want to talk about. Those 2 guys from the Wolves. Now, we did see that the Wolves now have been revealed as the reasons behind the W and the sort of but doesn't the show kind of undercut the threat that they're going to pose to this community?
Yes, when you start the episode by 2 of them getting their butts kicked by 1 dude with a staff. Yeah. It doesn't. I don't fear them. I thought their trap was pretty cool with the zombie rave. With
the trucks and everything.
Yeah, that was great. But maybe if that was the first time we saw them, I would have been like, oh, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They're smart. They're using zombies, as weapons and stuff. That's really cool. But the fact that we we've already seen them get their butt kicked, 2 of them by one guy.
Yeah.
Like, if they can't handle Morgan, how are they going to deal with Rick, who's willing to shoot anyone in the head?
Yeah, and one of them basically caught monologuing. You know? So it's like, yeah, they didn't really, to me, just the fact that they're carving things in and kind of take their names from, you know, local Native American mythology, that doesn't necessarily make them intimidating to me or scary.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen them go up against worse. I mean, clearly the Terminus people were a hell of a lot creepier, you know? So I guess I'm curious to see now, especially with Morgan showing up and finding the Rick that he wasn't quite expecting to find at the end, like going forward, what sort of community will Alexandria be? You're going to have Morgan show up. Is he actually going to be an ally of Rick's, or maybe an antagonist now because he's seeing him at his worst? And, you know, what will the wolves basically, the wolves are literally at the door now. I mean, what will that do to this now newly bloodthirsty Alexandria, you know?
Now that it's better, right? Because they're bloodthirsty.
Yeah. Now that we have no doctor and no nice guy that knows how to build walls, you know, and apparently no more wine parties either. That crap is over with.
Yeah, I mean, I like Morgan as a character, but I just don't know, like, what does his opinion ultimately matter to this community at large? I think very little. He's just more of, like, someone there to sort of judge Rick from, like, sort of remind him where he started to where he is now. Yeah. I think Rick is almost like a bad guy now. He's like the new governor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, I can't say I quite like Rick anymore. I really don't. I feel like he's a, you know, and the show does get bogged down in this sort of self-righteous, you know, sermonizing. A lot of characters have done that throughout the show, whether it was, you know, Herschel at times or Dale, you know, but, you know, and I don't think I quite bought Michonne, her kind of like, well, I was always with you, Rick.
Oh yeah, what was that about? I thought the penultimate episode was like so cool. It was like, yeah, and Michonne is finally like seeing sense. Rick is clearly not in his right mind. But in this episode, she was just like, as Matt pointed out in his review, that she was just like, oh, I was with you all along. I was just helping out just to get the heat off of you right there.
And I feel like
do something interesting.
Well, yeah, I thought dramatically it undercuts, like, you kind of do want to see this team tested. You want to see loyalties and divisions and sort of like, would there have been a civil war amongst them? And instead it's just like, okay, we'll just do whatever you say, Rick. I thought that it was kind of, it was a bit lackluster in that regard. I would have liked to have seen her. They keep saying like, we can't go back out there. And yet let's just completely gut whatever made this place nice except for electricity.
Yeah.
You know?
Kind of rough.
Yeah. So overall then, did this season finale change your overall thoughts on the season? Did you think season 5 was kind of a step up for the show? And no?
This is kind of like
the most articulate response yet to season 5. Yeah.
No, I mean, I thought season 5 was pretty interesting. It was a lot of like mysteries and intrigue going into it. I feel like there wasn't a lot of payoff. I feel like it went out with a whimper, like I said.
Yeah.
Like at the end of it, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I was just like, the show could end here and I'd be fine.
Interesting.
What about you?
I liked overall. I really enjoyed the season. I liked the finale. I didn't love it because I think it didn't have quite the courage of its convictions. The idea of like, well, we're going to reconcile, and yet we're going to bring back the same 2 clowns that created a lot of the problems for us, Gabriel and Nicholas. So overall, I think the ending was a mixed bag to what I found was a pretty good season, although I am a little afraid now that it's going to be just more of the same now next season where, you know, it's, I don't know, more of the same. So we want to know what you think of the season 5 finale, what you thought overall of this season. Let us know in the comments below. And for all things Walking Dead, keep it here on IGN.